Hello and welcome to Programme 2 of Art in Isolation. I'm now going to show you a rare, subtle and poetic work by an early 20th century female artist that I have hanging inside. I want to take you to the corner of the room where sits this little subtle watercolour in grey washes. And although it is quite diminutive, you could say doesn't have a great aesthetic impact, I think it has profound psychological presence. Those of you, incidentally, who were clever enough to recognise that the hands were indeed by a recognisable artist, none other than Gwen John. Gwen John is the artist of this portrait of a girl called Marie Hamonet, whom she met in Brittany. Now, you can't really think about her without the eclipsing presence of her phosphorescent bohemian younger brother, Augustus John, who was the leading society portrait painter of the period. Temperamentally, possibly by her design latterly, they couldn't be more different. And I'll come to that in a sec. Born in Wales, her mother died young. A rather stiff solicitor father, she escaped to work as a student in the Slade School, which was that wonderful opportunity for women to get the same sort of tuition that men did at the period. She then left for France, slept in fields in a sort of bohemian way, made her way to Paris, and there she became, shortly afterwards, the model and later the lover of the leading sculptor in Europe at the period, none other than Augustus Rodin. They were together, one way or another, for 10 years, and after it, her life rather emotionally collapsed. She couldn't quite let go. I think he might have been a little bit feckless himself. And she then turned to another type of subject matter, which this little portrait heralds in a way. Just look at the way that she is sitting and holding herself. Look at that scrunched up expression. We know that this was painted in about 1918, 1919. Partly by the age of Marie Hamonet. She will be in her teens. Gwen had just finished her relationship with Rodin, and she came to Brittany, where I think this was painted, really to convalesce. And it's so much, as sometimes portraits can be, about the world of the artist rather than the subject. We know from words she herself spoke that she felt her validity was her interior world. And this is what we seem to be getting here. We seem to be getting the artist's interior world expressed through this portrait. Look at the way those hands just hug and cling to her. And that combined with the features of the face, so unusual for this date, so expressive, psychologically expressive. One of the things that this wonderful and rare artist, there's only about 150 oil paintings for a career that lasted 30 years or more. One of the characteristics is the way that she posed her subjects, and she sort of developed a particular format, which you can see here, which is not quite full length. You see a little bit of the lap, you see hands, and you see the face, obviously. But the combination of lap and particularly hands and face, make a wonderful add-on to the character of the subject. In this case, they are intense. This was common to a lot of them. I quite like the challenge of living with watercolours, really, because they get a bit of a tough rap. You've got to be very careful about where the light's coming from so they don't fade. They have a mount around them. They're not as strong as oil paintings. So in order to hold their own, they do need to deliver quite a punch. But I think this does. And as I walk through the door, in fact, I'll go back to the door now just to have a look. So I walk through the door, even though that there is a clatter of other colours and shapes and forms around, I find myself unfailingly drawn to the interior world, partly the subject, but predominantly of the artist, Gwen John. I don't know whether you can see in the far end of the room, right-hand corner, a little flash of pink. Well, that's for the next programme, and that is a work by Augustus John, Gwen's brother. Augustus said rather mournfully that in 50 years' time he thought that he would be known as the brother of Gwen John. Look after yourselves and enjoy the objects around you. See you soon.